Staying in tune with the country's history is important for all residents of the U.S., but it's especially important to help kids stay enthusiastic about how our country came to be. So how's God's way of keeping people of all ages interested? Here to tell us more, sculptor and painter Ivan Schwartz and Dave Bruce Smith, the founder of the Grateful American Foundation. Welcome to you both. Thanks for coming in today.
Good morning.
All right, so tell me about this. How do we keep people interested through the summer and just really throughout the entire year?
I think we have to activate the past.
Right.
And we do it by being great visual storytellers. Telling story is a really important part of what we do. And kids love it.
Yeah, and I think kids are very visual.
Yeah.
They want to see the story played out.
Right.
So how do you do that? How do you differentiate what you do versus other people?
Well, I think you bring the best skill to bear, and we have a great story to tell. And if you do it well, then there's a pretty good chance that people are going to pay attention.
And Ivan, that's where you come into play.
And we do it by engaging kids. I think if you keep in mind that history, it's like a gossip session. It's his story. So if you can tell those stories in interesting ways, with interesting materials, and a good teacher.
So that's true, because that's what keeps them interested. It catches their attention.
Right.
Now, Dave, your father, Robert H. Smith, saw Ivan's potential. And is that how this whole collaboration came to be? How did that work out?
Well, that collaboration was a little before I knew Ivan, but he recognized that if you have good art, which Ivan's art is sensational.
Right.
It defines a space like Lincoln Cottage or Montpelier or Monticello, and it can be used, the piece can be used as a rallying point for people.
Now tell me something. Being a sculptor, it sounds like an incredible profession, of course, but how did you get into it, and what advice do you have for others that are trying to do the same thing that you guys are doing?
I had a classical training. I went to an old-fashioned academy, probably the last in the United States, you know, in the late 60s. And it's come back, so there are places now where people can go and get a kind of old-fashioned education, more relevant today than it was in the 60s. You apply yourself and you take a lot of risk.
Yeah.
And also you have to love what you're doing. You have to be passionate about what you're doing.
And was storytelling, was that what you fell in love with? And this is your way of telling the story?
Yeah, I fell in love with history, and as it happened, I had the skills, which were then married to great patrons and institutions who gave me the opportunity to do the work that we've done.
So what would you suggest to others that are trying to do the same thing? Like if you could go back and tell, when you started out, and tell yourself a tip to help you succeed, what would you say?
You know, this is the most often asked question. There is no easy solution, but you have to be devoted. You have to be prepared to leap into the void, and you have to work very, very hard. But I think the main thing is you must be passionate and be prepared for a long haul. A long haul, of course. Yeah. So what projects are you guys working on now?
Well, we're working on videos, podcasts, and in the future, a series of ebooks and more interactive games.
Oh, that's interesting. Taking it to the social media platform.
Yes.
And is that to continue to draw in a younger audience and educate?
And, well, not just kids, but adults too, because adults work with their kids.
Right. But that's a good way to do it, is because everybody's on some kind of MacBook or, you know, an iPad or something of that nature. Right. So that's interesting. So how does that change your delivery and how you put pieces together? Does it change it at all? Or is it just
I think it makes it more broad because people have a choice of media.
All right, Dave, last question. You always give us great, fascinating facts about American history.
Okay, so July 4th, 1826, Jefferson and Adams died. Now, Jefferson was the third president, Adams was the second president. That adds to 5. Okay, they died on the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. 5 years later, July 4th, 1831, James Monroe died, and that was the 55th anniversary of the celebration of the Declaration of Independence.
How do you remember this?
Well, I was working on the numbers last night because I figured there has to be something besides the, you know, the fact that they all died on the same day, there must be something in, maybe in numerology or that would emerge. So I came up with the 5.
And that's what, oh wow.
I don't know what it means, but...
But when you come back, you can tell us what it means. How about that? All right, thank you, gentlemen, so much. We appreciate you being here. Guys, stay with us. More with Let's Talk Live coming up after the break.